Welcome to the Pop Culture Junkie podcast. I'm Olivia, and I'm here with
Shauna.
And we are so excited to go into the world of Pan Am today with another episode of our Pop Culture Junkie book club. This time, we're going to be looking at Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, which came out in the last month or so. And before we really head deep into the book of Sunrise on the Reaping itself, we want to do a little bit of a spoiler-free discussion of the Hunger Games world in general, what we knew kind of heading into this book, things that we were kind of thinking and knew about Haymitch Abernathy, who is...
That he was hot?
Yeah, well, Woody Harrelson's hot, so,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah. In my head, then, Haymitch is hot. Hot little rascal.
Yes, exactly. And so before we dive into our spoiler version of Sunrise on the Reaping, if you haven't heard yet, here's really kind of a quick rundown of the book. The Hunger Games prequel centers on Haymitch, who you will probably know as Katniss's mentor. It's focused on the 50th Hunger Games, which is also known as the Second Quarter Quell. If that sounds familiar to you, it's actually the reaping where they put in double the amount of contestants or tributes. So rather than 24 people going in from the districts, they actually had 48.
Do we know what they did in the first Quarter Quell? Because for Katniss's Quarter Quell, they reaped from the pool of existing victors. And then, yeah, Haymitch's was double the tributes. I wonder what they did for the first one.
So the first Quarter Quell was the Hunger Games where they made the districts vote who would go into the reaping.
Oh, that's messed up.
Can you imagine winning the Hunger Games and then coming back and be like, all of you voted me in?
Yeah, so you all hate me is what you're saying. So you hate me? Stacey, I saw you vote for me. I saw you fucking vote for me, bitch.
Exactly, yeah. So the first Quarter Quell, you had to vote in people from your district. The second was Haymitch's. It was double the tributes. And then the last Hunger Games of the Hunger Games is the 75th Quarter Quell, and that is reaping of tributes. Yes. And so they do them every 25 years, and they're meant to be like audacious over, consumption of a Hunger Games.
Yeah, the over the top, even more fancy and ridiculous than the usual Hunger Games, which is always ridiculous and over the top and lots of children dying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Trigger warning for children dying.
Yeah, lots of trigger warnings, just war, hunger, all the things that you can imagine. And of course, kids dying. And, the Hunger Games takes place in this dystopian future. It's in a place called Pan Am, which is the ruins of North America after like a governmental collapse and war. So Pan Am is kind of the districts are set up into these 12 colonies, formerly 13. So kind of think back to when the United States first started, we had the 13 colonies and those things. So it's a bit of a nod back to that. But the Hunger Games...
It reminds me kind of like Handmaid's Tale, where it used to be the United States, but now it's Gilead,
yeah.
And so, yeah, like imagine the United States, but yeah, it's broken up into 12. I saw a map the other day on social media that was like what the districts actually are and like what they're broken up into. But I'm not sure how accurate it was, but it was pretty interesting to see.
What actually came out of a promo for the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes movie is where
so it was a legit one.
Yeah, so it's from the movie specifically. And actually, if you just Google like Pan Am US overlay, like map, you'll be able to see like District 10 is mainly Texas, like Arizona.
Where are we in Arizona?
Arizona and New Mexico are District 5. California is District 4. The District 12, which are where Haymitch and Katniss are from, is known as Appalachia. And ultimately, it is
mountains and trees and forests.
Very much that. And, Pan Am is like a futuristic America, and they've kind of broken it into this. But really, the Hunger Games get started after what's known as the Dark Days. They, ultimately reap these young girls and young boys to kind of put a remembrance of why that they shouldn't rebel against the Capitol. And
it's their ongoing punishment year after year. And if you rise up again, then it's just going to get worse. So toe the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And we get introduced really into the Hunger Games world during the 74th Hunger Games with Katniss and Peeta. But really, it was such an interesting way to go back and really see these characters 25 years in the future and how these people started and how they got there ultimately.
Yeah, I liked that portion of the book. I'm sure that we'll get to it a little deeper in our conversation, but I remember texting you because you finished it before me, of course.
Shocker.
Of course you did. Shocked. But I was like, I don't know how I feel about all of these characters. It kind of just felt like member berries. Like, oh, that character is here. Oh, yeah, that character is here. But by the end of the book, I was like, okay, I get it, and I like that. And it explains why they are the way that they are when we run into them in Katniss's books. Oh, that's why she's like this now. And that explains her backstory. So, I agree. It was interesting.
If you haven't finished the book yet or you haven't started it yet, hopefully we can kind of convince you to read the book from our spoiler-free version here.
Familiar names, but not overwhelming.
Yes, exactly. And I think that The Hunger Games has... when I was younger, I think I was in high school when the original books came out. And it hit me at such a point in my life. Like, The Hunger Games are a YA novel. They're a very dark YA novel, ultimately.
Yeah, they are.
Because, children are getting murdered. But it has such a important message. And so Suzanne Collins, the writer of The Hunger Games, she's known in kind of the book talk world and just overall social media world as Suzanne Collins does not write a book unless she has something to say. And I think that
absolutely, yep.
And it's very profound.
It's not a coincidence, that this book came out in the time that it did and what we're facing in the United States. Yes. There are so many little nods where it's not overt, but if you know, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when she first wrote the initial book, she's been quoted to say, I was channel surfing between reality TV and an actual war coverage when Katniss's story came to me. One night I was sitting around just flipping channels of young people competing for money. I don't know, maybe. And on to the next, there was a group of young people fighting in an actual war. And I was tired. Damn. And the lines began to blur in this very unsettling way. And I thought of this story.
That's fascinating. I mean, you think about how you watch the war, you watch one tragedy, you all get sad, and then it's, okay, we forget about that and move on right to the next one. And then that past tragedy becomes a distant memory, and how it just kind of becomes, I don't know, oversaturated of this 24/7 news cycle. Let's all watch the news all night and just get sad and riled up and then not do anything about it. Where tragedy can become entertainment. Absolutely.
Well, the Vietnam War was the first war that we ever had brought into our homes, right? But I think of the Iraq War as, just constant coverage where people could tune into it at any given time and it was always there. And so it was really, really interesting. She had a father who served in Vietnam, so she kind of had that background in it. But the original trilogy was inspired by Greek mythology and particularly the myth of Theseus and the Minotaur, in which Athens was forced to sacrifice 7 boys and 7 girls to the Minotaur as punishment, which is a very clear parallel there, and bringing that in.
I feel like a lot of mythologies have that sacrifice your youth to a god. It's like even God commanded Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac to prove his loyalty to him, and in the end God pulled a gotcha, oh, you were gonna do it, chill, you don't have to anymore. But definitely a running theme throughout religion and mythology.
Yes, ultimately. And, we've been retelling Greek mythology stories of religion over and over throughout it, and just finding new ways to resonate with it. Now, after the initial Hunger Games trilogy, I think that Suzanne Collins was like, perfect. I wrote my little story. Everything's going to go well in the world. But as we mentioned earlier, Suzanne Collins really doesn't write anything by mistake. And I think that we first saw that she really had something to say with The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Oh, gosh, which I still haven't read.
Yes. Did you watch the movie yet?
You know, I haven't, and everyone keeps telling me how good it is. I think I will. My gut reaction of why it's taken me so long is that I really don't, I don't like snow, obviously. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, why the fuck would I want to watch an entire movie dedicated to,
Tom
this
Blythe.
Guy's sob story? Yeah.
Like, but Tom Blythe is so good. He's so hot.
Yeah. I know, but I'm like, oh, woe is me. You had a sad story, and now you're going to be like a dictator and a fascist. I don't know. But I've heard that it's more than that. So I'll give it a whirl.
Yes, I think that the movie, a lot, and we'll talk a little bit about the movie or the book to the movie adaptations. I think a lot of what is said in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So in the book of Ballad and Songbirds and Snakes, you're through Snow's mind, right? So you hear his internal monologue and you hear that he is deep down like a bad person even before he becomes like evil Snow. And so
okay, so it's always been there. See, I wanted that too. I'm sick of all these.
Yes.
I like a complex villain and I like a tragic backstory, but sometimes I want a villain who's just a dick. I want him just to be a bad person. I don't need some sob story. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think, she is exploring these really popular themes in all of her books, right? So she's been on record to say The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is looking at human nature through the philosophical arguments of Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau. And ultimately, like, is someone born bad or is it something that happens to them? Is it a series of things that occur that lead them to this path and make them ultimately bad? And so I think it is a very interesting look into how does someone become like a fascist dictator,
who they are,
terrible,
and
who
all broke Donald Trump's heart.
Yeah, right. And she came out with that. When did it come out? Like in 2021. So she was writing it around the time of the Trump presidency and things like that. And so for Sunrise on the Reaping, ultimately, she has been said to draw inspiration from the Scottish philosopher David Hume.
Oh, yes, my favorite.
Oh, yes, of course.
Indubitably.
Hume's philosophy explores the easiness in which the many are governed by the few.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
Okay.
So his whole kind of philosophy explores that and why are we willing to do that? And it also kind of lends itself into propaganda and how we find ourselves believing that and accepting that, even when we do know that things are bad and people don't have our best interest in heart.
Yeah. And like the diffusion of responsibility at a certain point, like we all see that something bad is happening, but we all think, oh, somebody else will take care of it. Somebody else will take care of it. And at a certain point, everybody just kind of sits back and lets it happen because they think at a certain point, oh, it's too hard to do anything about it now. Like no one did anything, so now none of us can. And then that's how, people get away with continued evil shit.
Yes, exactly. And before we head into our spoiler version, give the listeners who maybe read slower than you a spoiler-free review of the Sunrise on the Reaping game.
First of all, it is April and I've already finished 7 books this year. And I know you've probably finished like 35, but that's pretty good for me.
That is good.
I loved this book. I have not read Song of Snakes and Birds in the Sky. I haven't read that yet or seen the movie, but I am a huge Hunger Games fan. I have watched those movies way more times than I think is probably healthy and read all of the books immediately when they came out. And this book you hear Haymitch's voice in your head. It's written in such a perfect tone of voice. almost where I had to reread certain lines like twice because they weren't quite grammatically correct, because it's the way that he speaks, right? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Like, he'll say something and I'm like, wait, what is he trying to...
He speaks like someone from Appalachia, you know?
Exactly. And so I really liked that detail. And yeah, without saying any spoilers, I haven't cried in a book in a long time. And I wept at the end of this book. And my husband was in his office playing video games, and I walked in and I was like, you don't even understand. And he's like, no, I don't. I don't.
I really don't. He's still reading Dune 2 years later. He's like, yeah, I don't get it.
He's never going to finish Dune.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I definitely rated this 5 stars on GoodReads. Me too. It was great. I think it had the right amount of fan service. It really explored a deep meaning, a deep theme, and
dark as hell.
Mm-hmm. And I think that for a story you think you know so much about because you've met this character within the Hunger Games. I mean, there was still so much that shocked me throughout, and even though you know what's coming at the end because you meet Haymitch later down the road,
you know it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
Like, I knew even those final couple pages, I was reading it like, oh, like you turn the page because you're like, oh, something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, and lo and behold, it's Hunger Games, so lots of bad things happen, but it all makes so much sense to explain why Haymitch is the way he is now.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we head into our spoiler Sunrise on the Reaping discussion, we want to remind you that we do have a Patreon. Want to shout out full access to our new PCJ Pops, a sneak peek into the uncensored video of our episodes before anyone else gets to see them. You also get...
Mine didn't sound sexual at all. I'm sorry, guys. I sounded like a mutt from the Hunger Games. Okay, keep going.
A muttation. You also get to support our show, which brings us to you the best of the pop culture on a weekly basis. So that in itself is a reward. You get to hear us do lovely animal noises like Shauna just did. So to access our Patreon, go to patreon.com/popculturejunkiepodcast and subscribe. Yes. Okay, so now that the pharaohs of the world are out and not listening. Hey,
she learned how to read eventually.
Yeah, you're slowly becoming literate. No, I'm just kidding.
She figured it out.
We wanted to do this book, but we wanted to give our listeners enough time to be able to get through it and read it. And ultimately, we are aware that people have lives, unlike myself. And so, sometimes it's hard to get through a whole book and unless you have hyperfixations. And so, I think that this book in itself was so well done, mainly because we kind of alluded to it in the beginning. Haymitch is a character that we know survives the Hunger Games, right? We meet him with Katniss, and 25 years from now, we know that he is a very sad alcoholic who has no family, no friends.
At a certain point, they ask him, well, do you have any tips for us? And he goes... accept the inevitability of your
imminent demise.
Of your imminent demise. Basically, accept the fact that you're gonna die and there's nothing you can do about it. And they were both like, aren't you supposed to be our mentor? So that is the first introduction we get to him.
Yeah, and ultimately, if you never read the Hunger Games books, but you did watch the movies, Haymitch is very much changed within the book to movie, right? So within the movie, he is kind of there as the silly alcoholic. He's there for comedic relief. I mean, it's really hard not to...
Which is sad because tragic alcoholism is not funny.
Yeah, well, it's the Hunger Games, so it's murder. Hey, you lived and now you just get drunk all the time.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that would absolutely be me.
I mean, that's me, and I'm not going into the Hunger Games.
That's me right now.
Yeah, and ultimately the book itself it changes a lot of things about Haymitch. So we have the iconic Woody Harrelson playing Haymitch, but within the books, Haymitch is actually described as having dark hair and gray eyes. He is much more, he's not blonde hair, blue eyed within it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people within District 12 fit that. So Katniss has more olive skin tone. She has very dark hair. And so, kind of keep that in mind whenever they originally casted it, where, he doesn't necessarily fit the book description, Woody Harrelson.
Yeah. Woody Harrelson is just so good, though. And that has to be it. It's just he captures it so well. Just that, tragic, nuanced, there's something else there. You don't really get to find out, in those first couple books or even movies, but something went down, right?
Yes.
To make him the way he is. And Woody Harrelson is just such an amazing actor. It's I'm thinking Peeta's character too is also kind of that blonde kid, but I don't remember if he was described that way in the books.
He is described as blonde in the books.
Okay.
Yeah,
but that's the only, it's just he nailed it. So, no stink from me with a different hair color.
Yes, and in the books, Haymitch is seen as much more strategic and in helping Katniss and Peeta kind of navigate the capital itself and understanding what are they going to look for. He definitely pushes Katniss and Peeta into their romance and their interview presentations and doing those things. And so I think you lose a little bit of the depth to Haymitch within the movies that you would have had if you had read the original Hunger Games trilogy.
I agree with that. You do see spots of it in the movie where he looks over and sees the kids playing with the toys, and you can, in the Capitol, and they're playing with swords while Katniss and Peeta are in the games, and you could see that sadness in his eyes where he's oh, these kids are playing murder. And when he starts hustling the room and trying to get them some sponsors, especially once Catching Fire is over and the plot is revealed with Plutarch, then we really get to see him kind of become more of that strategic player. But I agree, it was definitely a lot of things between these movies and the books were more nuanced, or they cut them out for the sake of film or even for violence's sake in some of them, I think. Some decisions.
Yeah, and that's
Peeta's
one of
leg.
Right. So I love that you just said the plot to overthrow the Capitol become with District 13. So that Haymitch is involved in that within the original trilogy, but you don't know when they met, how they met, how their friendships built. And ultimately, that's really what you get within this book, right? So
him and Plutarch, you mean?
Him and Plutarch, him and Beatty, him and
Mags
Wyrus and Mags.
Wyrus.
Yes. So we talked about it a little bit in the beginning where you see these characters from Catching Fire, which are Wyrus, Beatty, and Mags. And ultimately, Haymitch was originally supposed to be reaped within those games. So he was supposed to go in, but Peeta actually volunteers as tribute. So Haymitch gets taken out. But you meet these characters. Madge is actually Haymitch's mentor. And Wyrus as well is involved within the mentorship because, again, they have 48 they have 48 tributes. So they have two mentors.
Remember that little line in Catching Fire where Katniss is oh, there's no way she's going to survive, talking about Mags. And then Haymitch says, well, I hope when she goes fast. She's actually a really nice lady.
Yeah.
And, it just brings so much more, depth to that now that she was so there for him. It makes sense why Wyrus is, what's the good word for this? Talks to herself and is kind of strange, right?
Yes.
It's alluded that they were tortured at the end of this book, but we don't really know how. Same with Mags doesn't even speak anymore, right? Wyrus is kind of loses her mind a little bit, but Mags is just silent, isn't she, in Catching Fire? She's just mute.
Yeah, she doesn't really speak, but at the same time, she's also Annie's mentor, I think, at some point within it. So I don't know if she's just like old within Catching Fire. I know that it impacts her quite a bit, but I don't know if she's like
I don't think she has a single line in that entire movie from watching it. And she kind of like signs to Katniss. I don't know. It's just, to me, both of their characters speak trauma. Something happened, and then we see in Sunrise on the Reaping that they were tortured after Haymitch's games. So like that explains why they're the way they are now.
Yeah, ultimately. And so you start to see these connections. We also meet Beatty, who actually, as a result of his... So Beatty is known to be one of the smartest people within Panem, not just the districts, not just the capital. And he's very in control of their electrical grid and their power grid. And so they cannot kill him as a result of his rebellion. So what they end up doing is they send in his son into the Hunger Games.
Gosh.
His 12-year-old son goes in, so the first year. And ultimately, like, Beatty goes into it knowing that his son is going to die. And they hatch this plan of how do we destroy the arena itself and go through this kind of large plot to destroy it with Ampert, Beatty's son, and then ultimately Haymitch as well. And so Haymitch is involved in it.
How did you feel about that plot? It was so frustrating, and purposefully so. I think it's supposed to be frustrating in that he keeps getting he goes through with the plan, right? He floods the system and it doesn't really do anything. And it leads to Ampert's, like you said, Beatty and him already knew he was going to die. It was punishment for Beatty to have to watch his son die on TV. And he was like, I want it to just be as quick and painless as possible. And it ended up being the most gruesome death of the games.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh.
Never looking at a squirrel the same.
Literally. Squirrel. But and then, so he gets through this whole plot, and Haymitch beats himself up throughout the book too. His internal monologue is just, I'm useless. Why did I do this? I should have just not done anything. It would have been better to not do anything. Just that diffusion of responsibility, right? He's kicking himself for doing something because it didn't really work out. And I know he has another plan in the end, but it's frustrating to see him go through that, right?
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of like the argument of the whole book, right? Like of I think that Haymitch's actions do cause the Capitol to lose control of the narrative within the game. They wrestle it back in the end, ultimately, with the replays and what they let people kind of see on the second go around.
Propaganda. And that's what the news, that's propaganda now, just tweaking things to your liking. And like, I mean, the United States has it. Any country has propaganda, but you think of North Korea, right? Where they only show you the certain things that make them look real good. And so people don't know the actual truth. But yeah, it's so frustrating. And you just want to scream and throw the book across the room.
Yeah, and I think, at the end of the book, they had this line where, there's going to be another victor later who's luckier than you are, but catches fire, and that rebellion really goes into it. And you see that, there are so many people involved. We haven't really talked about Plutarch yet because I want to spend some time on him, but you see so many people from the district. You have Plutarch involved in this story as well. And then Haymitch, who was courageous enough to do it. He was courageous. He had the plan, but he didn't have the luck, and he didn't have, the right kind of factors working for him at that moment in time.
He had people who had his back, but not to the degree that Katniss did. So I do think, thinking back, in the moment, he probably thought, oh, this was useless, this didn't do anything. But no, it absolutely did. You have to try and fail. Like, revolutions aren't just easy. Yeah. It's not something you just try once and then you overthrow the government and everything's hunky-dory. It's like, people will try and fail and fuck up and fall down, and you will vote somebody out of office, and then 4 years later they'll come back, and it doesn't mean that you just stop. You keep trying. So I think that's, kind of like the epilogue at the end of the book. He's like, I did meet somebody who had more luck than I do and did destroy not only the arena, but the entire system. So yeah, in that moment, it was so heartbreaking to see him be like, why am I even doing this? I keep fucking up. I keep failing. And you're like, no, man, this is necessary. This is necessary. The failure is necessary.
Yeah, and ultimately, you know, there's so many beautiful like callbacks within it. Whenever I realized that, you know, there's the scene with Lenore Dove and Haymitch where he talks about wanting to be the last person ever reaped. And to be fair, he technically was, but it was 25 years later because Haymitch was the last name pulled, and then PETA, you know, volunteers as tribute, but then that's the last Hunger Games. Yeah, so
you just blew my mind. You just blew my mind a little bit. Boom.
So there's so many beautiful things within this story, but you know, one of the characters that I think was the most interesting that we got to meet and get to know as a younger person was definitely Plutarch Heavensbee.
Yeah. Did you picture him as
Philip Seymour Hoffman?
I almost said William H. Macy.
What?
I did picture him as William H. Macy. I pictured him as Philip Seymour Hoffman the entire time.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace.
Just like a young Philip Seymour Hoffman. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
Same with
Haymitch.
It was just a young Woody Harrelson in my mind.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, I think that meeting Plutarch as a younger person, as such a younger privileged person who also kind of could see through it. So you see these early seedlings of Snow hating Plutarch. Now, Plutarch is younger than him, but Plutarch really kind of plays this angle of getting what he needs out of the capital, but also having this kind of like secret rebellion. And you see that
he has the resources of the capital. I mean, sometimes you need someone on the inside like that. Earn over their trust, get the money and the resources, get on the inside and...
Yes, and one of the most interesting things to me that I think I saw within this book that I took away was the Heavensbee family are even among the district and the capital, some of the few people who still have access to books and books that we would know today in North America. So I don't think I ever really like grasped the level of like book burning information control that the capital had on books. Like the Raven by Edgar Allan Poe is within this book quite a bit. And
I know, I caught that, and it took me a minute too. I didn't mean to cut you off, but like when he first started quoting the Raven, I was like, oh wait, I forgot that this I forgot that this took place in what used to be the United States. So yeah, this literature did exist in this world. It's just people don't have access to it anymore. So now it's just passed down through song and through tale and spoken word. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of song, especially in the Seam.
Yes, exactly. And so, you know, how does the Heavensbees, because the Heavensbees are one of the richest families within the capital. They're richer than the Snow family, and you see that within Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And that is ultimately like why Snow so deeply despises the Heavensbee family as well. But they're
keeping up with the Joneses a little bit.
Their ability to retain information and retain text is actually what gives them that sense of humanity and empathy and wanting to overthrow it. Now, Plutarch, I think, is very self-serving within himself because he's not like overtly putting his money there. He's kind of a behind the curtain tinkerer, which might be what
I mean, he's
need.
Not going to put his name and face to it. Yeah, which, you know, for better or worse, could be something that any revolution needs, and I'm sure it is. But even when the book started and he kind of started exposing himself to Haymitch as being on his side, I know how it ends, and I know who Plutarch ends up being, but even I was like, wait, is he bad? Is he bad? Like, even you aren't sure if he's kind of like playing Haymitch, right?
I think he's meant to be very self-serving. Where, you know, he thinks that's going to be best. Like, does he do it because Snow hates his family and he knows that Snow has to be overthrown, or is he doing it for the good of goodness, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think,
and either way, he gets results, so that's good.
I think that he's a very interesting character. He's a very complex character. And so one thing I didn't mention about Suzanne Collins is she was originally a screenwriter. And so she is very, she likes to write within trilogies. And all of the books are written within a 3-act structure as well.
Ooh, so who do you think is going to be the next?
I think it's going to be Plutarch. Because I think she is going within a story of Snow, Haymitch, someone deeply impacted but becomes like who is hurt but becomes a part of a rebellion, and then someone who is, you know, on the outsides of that society and decides to join because they don't have everything they want.
If she writes a book about Plutarch, it'll be interesting too, because it'll be the first book that she's written of somebody who wasn't a tribute. So it'll be definitely kind of a
Snow isn't a tribute.
Well, that's true, but somebody he's like training a tribute, or he's
a mentor
in the book, right?
In the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess that's true, but it's somebody who's not like either a mentor or a tribute. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, Plutarch is like the propaganda person who like follows them around. So he's involved in the games. So you think
we'll probably still like get through the plot of a Hunger Games within the book?
Yeah, well, because Plutarch becomes a game maker, right? And so he starts as the film person who's like following around the district. I think it'd be really interesting to see how he moves up within that, and like what does that journey
where does he get that
like what
that promotion?
What bad did he have to do to get there to eventually do good? I think that's a really interesting philosophy. Like the needs of the many overcome the needs of one. Like I think I could really see her making that argument and saying, hey, is this even a good person? Is this someone that you should support? Because they did all this bad, even though it led to an overall much greater good. Like I could
He's going to have to do something bad to earn Snow's trust, right? He's not just going to let this guy move from being like a propaganda journalist, you know, not journalist very loosely there, to being a game maker. Like, you got to do something. Shoot that toddler in the head or something. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, ultimately. And I think that'd be a really interesting philosophical argument, right? There's so much philosophy around, you know, the needs of the greater good make up for bad actions or the negative action to one person. I do think that it's going to be Plutarch if she does end a third book. She hasn't said for sure she is, but just...
Oh, these are making so much money, though.
Yeah, but what I really do want to see is a Finnick O'Dare Hunger Games. Yeah. And if they could just age down
Daddy.
Sam Claflin, he's so hot. He's so hot in Catching Fire.
So hot. Oh my God! Just in the sugar cubes.
Yes, I was like when he pops that sugar cube in. Oh baby!
I'll be your sugar cube daddy.
Yes. So hot in it. He's amazing. Also really hot in Daisy Jones and the Six. Squirrel.
And also hot in that movie where he is a paraplegic with
Me Before You
with Daenerys Targaryen.
Yeah. Very hot. Sorry. See, this is why we need a
squirrel
book.
Flesh eating squirrels to keep us on track.
Yeah, but one of the funniest things I think about this book coming out is the internet reaction to it. So whenever the movie came out, they had Tom Blythe play Snow. Tom Blythe is a very attractive man, and so
you mean in
Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes,
the ditty of the snakes and the birdies?
Yes, yeah. And so there were all these fan edits of Tom Blythe as Snow. And
oh my God! Now people thirsting over Snow.
Yes, and the internet said that this book was our consequence of that, and that's why she ultimately ripped our freaking heart out. I mean, there were so many good characters.
Oh, he's handsome.
Oh yeah. Did you see him as Snow? Type.
I'm looking at it right now. But also, we've said this before: never trust a blonde man.
Yeah, never trust a blonde man. But, you know, these characters within this book were so amazing. I mean, like, Maisie Donner, so good. You see nods of her throughout.
Oh, I love her.
Oh, we love a bitch.
Dress me, girl. Oh, she reminds me of Cordelia Chase, right? Like,
yes.
A bitch with a heart of gold.
A bitch with a heart of gold. Yeah.
She will look at your outfit and be like, what the fuck are you wearing? And then also offer to redress you unless you get on her bad side. And then she's just going to make little jabs at you every time you see her.
I don't know if you ever caught this, but the Mockingjay pin that Katniss gets, it's Maisley's. Yeah. So
yes, because she thought it was ugly, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
she's like, what is this?
We had Maisley, who is an amazing character. Lulu, who, oh my God, the body double. God. Just so
Rip
sad.
my heart out with Lulu and what's the Lulu's actual name? I forgot.
Luella,
yes. Luella and Lulu, both equally tragic characters. Poor Wyatt, who doesn't get much to do in this book, but he's there. And Ampert, who has, like I said, a horrifying death. All of the deaths in this book are
really
horrifying.
Bad. Yeah. Never gonna look at a squirrel the same.
No, eaten by squirrels, blown up, heads cut off.
The killer hedgehog.
Yes.
Yeah. This one had like a lot of crazy mutations. I also think the arena as itself was really, really interesting. It's known to be like this beautiful scenery, but everything is poisonous. So it's like what looks beautiful on the outside can kill you, or like the illusion
like a red
of
rose
beauty.
with thorns.
Yeah, the illusion of beauty. So honestly, if you can't tell, we could go on and on and on about this. But, you know, I think that this book has so many deep themes within it, and ultimately of how power structures try to maintain control and how individuals can resist oppression even when that victory seems impossible. Again, Suzanne Collins, just an amazing person to come in and write a story.
Nailed it.
Yeah, ultimately. And, you know, I think even if she wrote like a joke book, it would still be amazing and have deep themes and meaning within it.
I'd still cry.
Yeah, absolutely. So she's just amazing at, you know, really telling a story that makes us think. And so we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk a little bit about the film adaptation. Okay, so if you haven't heard yet, the Sunrise on the Reaping book was immediately picked up for a movie. Go figure. Just like the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, they kind of immediately, like, I think as soon as Suzanne Collins finished the book, they started to write the script. And so
it was so close afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. And she writes in a really good way because, again, she was a screenwriter. To be adapted into a movie. While we don't have any official casting announcements, they have started to release a little bit of buzz, a little bit of rumors within it.
The rumor mill buzzing.
Yes.
Love it. And I think most of these sound legit.
Yes, they do. So for our leading man here, we have Charlie Plummer as Haymitch Abernathy. So I had originally wanted this person to be Kiefer Sutherland because obviously it's Donald Sutherland's son. But I actually do really, really like this casting.
Kiefer Sutherland is old, girl.
So is President Snow. He's 50.
Yeah, but you mean for Snow? I thought you meant for Haymitch. And I was like, man.
You are so pretty.
Thank you. I really am, aren't I?
Yeah.
And now I'm just going to picture Kiefer Sutherland trying to play a 16-year-old. And he's like, yeah, I'm Haymitch.
So
we have 24 hours to destroy the arena.
I would watch that, though. I would definitely watch that.
Oh, absolutely. No, he would be great for Snow.
Yes, Kiefer Sutherland for President Snow because his dad was the older Snow. But unfortunately, they're not doing that. The rumored casting for this is actually Ralph Fiennes. So not only
Voldemort?
Yeah.
Literally Voldemort.
So not only is he going to play Voldemort, he will play Snow. The girl has come to die.
So literally Voldemort. So Voldemort.
Literally Voldemort. So the girl who's caught fire
has come to die.
Literally. I don't hate it. I think he could do a good job in it.
He's a good actor.
Yes, he is. Even if he has a confusing name to pronounce.
Stupidest name ever. Okay, how old is Snow supposed to be? In his 50s, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it is.
Ralph Fiennes is 62, so...
Yeah, it's close. Same with Kiefer Sutherland. I was going straight. I just want Nepo Baby casting. Same thing with Plutarch. I wanted it to be Philip Seymour Hoffman's son. But
is he an actor?
Yeah, he is. But they're saying that it will most likely be Jesse Plemons. Which
Jesse Plemons would be perfect.
He looks much like him.
Yeah, he's spot on, and he's a very good actor.
Yeah, he looks so much like Philip Seymour Hoffman. Now, I love this one the most out of all the rumored fan casting.
This one, I don't know.
We have Kieran Culkin as Caesar Flickerman.
I don't know. I mean, I would have to see it. Kieran Culkin, again, a wonderful actor, but I'm not sure if he looks like...
Stanley Tucci?
Yeah, I don't know if I see that him growing into Stanley Tucci.
Oh my God, no, I see it so much. And like, it's a very young Caesar Flickerman too. And they're gonna have, like, Caesar Flickerman wears all those colors and like literal drag all the time.
That's true.
But I see it for him.
He is a gay icon.
Literally, Kieran Culkin is so funny. I think that he's probably my favorite out of all the rumored fan casting released so far. I think he would crush it and do a really good job. And then,
oh no, he would do amazing. I need to see the full makeup effects, maybe. Yes. I need to see a purple bouffant on him.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And the last one that we've had come out of this now. They've been rumored to be playing 2 people. I'm going to say the one that I want them to play the most, but I'll tell you the second after. So Elle Fanning is rumored to be a young Effie Trinket. I totally forgot to mention. We meet Effie within the book, how Effie and Haymitch meet.
Oh my God, I love Effie Trinket. I love that she had Haymitch's back. Like, it... throughout. I mean, she's still Effie and she's still going to be a capital darling, but we see those little bits of humanity where she knows that this isn't right.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
She, as much as she wants to say, well, this is for the greater goods, and the games really are for the greater goods. Like, you know, there's that doubt in her mind where she's like, this is also kind of messed up.
Yeah. And so Elle Fanning, I think, just like the red carpet looks we would get leading up to this movie as her method dressing. I would love it. Yes. I would love it.
I think she would make a great Effie Trinket. I also saw a fan cast of Lily Reinhart.
I don't know. I think she's too, like, sweet looking for that. You know.
Okay, I could see that. I want her to get some more roles. I like her. I've seen her in a few things, too. And I think she's good.
Lily Reinhart's hilarious. Elle Fanning has also been said to be rumored for Maisie Donner, but I think that needs to be like a mega bitch, someone who looks bitchy right out the gate.
It needs to. Yeah, I need a brunette. I don't know.
Well, she's blonde. She's blonde.
Is she blonde?
Yeah.
In my head, I picture her as a sassy brunette. Maybe it's just I pictured her just as Charisma Carpenter the entire movie, probably it. Or the entire book.
Yeah, Charisma gets some blonde highlights. There you go.
Yeah, let's get Charisma in there.
And so those are the main speculations of characters we've seen so far. Again, no one is confirmed yet. I think the movies are kind of stuck to what the other movies did, where, they can't stray too far from those original castings, but I think they do have some wiggle room within it. Like, if they were to cast Haymitch as someone with dark hair, they'd be in trouble for continuity's sake. But
yeah, it just wouldn't make sense. But I mean, it doesn't. You're never going to get somebody who looks exactly like somebody else because, humans have faces.
Yes. I also think they could
except for Jesse Plemons. That one's, those two might be related. I don't know.
Right? That's Philip Seymour Hoffman's
That's a little spot on.
Or they just get, I almost said Kristen Stewart. No. Kristen Dunst to play Effie. Would like that too. She's a little too old though.
But I would love that. I just watched Hidden Figures for the first time over the weekend, and Kirsten Dunst is delightful in it. I mean, she's a bitch, but she's good.
I've seen that movie, but I don't remember her in it. But I love her.
She plays, like one of the higher ups in NASA, who at first is like kind of trying to hold the other ladies down, and then eventually she's like, "Yeah, you could do this." So.
Oh, yeah. Now it's coming back to me. I don't know. I haven't really been able to place Lenore Dove in my mind. I almost want it to be someone who has like a Rachel Zegler look within her, because it's like that Rachel Zegler within that story, right, is like her
Lucy
aunt.
Gray.
Yeah, Lucy Gray.
Okay.
Lucy Gray is her aunt.
Lenore Dove is a redhead, right?
I can't remember. I think she does have like strawberry blonde or red hair. Ooh, the redhead from Riverdale. I could see her in it. I don't know if she could sing though.
I mean, she sang in Riverdale, but they all kind of were forced to sing in Riverdale.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, but I really, really loved the book. I mean, I think that so many good things to say. Even if you,
me too. Oh, loved it. Loved
if you went into it and you're like, well, why would I read that? I already know what's going to happen. Oh boy.
You don't though. You think you know, but you don't.
Buckle up.
This is the true life of Haymitch
Abernathy. And the stories that get told around it. Why did I go SVU?
This is the behind the music of Haymitch. I was doing behind the music, but
I was doing SVU.
Oh my god! You behind the music is you think you know, but you don't. This is the true story of Britney Spears, and then it's all like a breakdown of. Anyway, aging myself. VH1, where you at?
Well, we'll go ahead and close out our analysis of A Sunrise on the Reaping.
Yeah.
We could talk about this forever. We want to talk about this forever. Slide into the DMs. Let us know your thoughts. If we didn't cover something you think we should, or you think we even missed a big theme of the book, we would love to chat through it. Honestly, we could talk about The Hunger Games and Suzanne Collins forever. Actually, the day that Shauna broke her foot when we were in Newport, we binged all of the Hunger Games movies.
We laid on the couch, and I iced on my foot, and we were drinking White Claws and ordered a pizza, and that was one of my favorite parts of the trip, even though I would go on to have, a broken foot. But
you already had the broken foot. But
my foot was already broken at that point. I just didn't know it.
Yes.
And we watched Hunger Games on the couch and ate pizza, and it was simply lovely.
And we had the door open to the ocean sounds. It was amazing.
Not bad.
The Hunger Games universe itself has taken us through so many stages of life. So we're so happy to talk about it with you guys here. As you know, you can find us online on our website at popculturejunkie.com. From there, you can find our podcast on all platforms, as well as social media links, blog posts, and more. Please rate, subscribe, review the show. Honestly, it helps us so much. Get discovered, give riveting analysis like we have this time. Actually, this time we sounded pretty smart.
I was going to say, we were pretty riveting this time. We sound like we read a book and that we know words. We have the best words.
I have the best words. The greatest of words.
I know all the words. I have the best words.
And as we mentioned at the top of the episode, join our Patreon, because every subscription really helps us bring you more great episodes like this. Find us at patreon.com/popculturejunkiepodcast. Sign up for a sneak peek or get a super special shout out from us. God, I'm so glad I said that fine. Super special shout out from us. I know. I've been slurring through this whole thing. So not because I'm drunk, just because I'm stupid. But
a little bit of both.
Shauna, where can we find you?
I am also drunk and stupid. You can find me at Shauna Trinidad, ShaunaTrinidad, on Instagram and Threads.
And you can find me, Olivia, on Instagram at LivyMariez, LivyMariez. And in honor of this episode, I'm going to drop the GoodReads as well.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to do that too. Follow us on GoodReads. I have 3 friends on there, and I'm pretty sure it's just Olivia 3 times.
You can find me, Olivia Rodi, Rodi, on GoodReads, and then Shauna Trinidad as well. Follow us. We have some great reads.
And judge all of the books that we've been reading and just be like, why did you read that? Shauna, that's disgusting.
Shauna, you are not reading disgusting books. You're reading.
I'm really not. I got some good stuff on there.
Yeah, you're reading like the basics of smut. Like they're not so dark. I've been in like a a very wholesome read mood lately, but you know, that could change.
I'm reading a lot of like, I have autobiographies and a lot of like feminist, like fight the power stuff on there too. So nothing too cray. I love that. Cray.
So yeah,
thank you.
Rate, subscribe, follow. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the Sunrise on the Reaping this episode, and come back next week for another hit of pop culture.
The Pop Culture Junkie podcast is produced by Jeff Markin and Cheryl Lightfoot for the Pop Culture Entertainment Network. So entertain me, entertain